And of course, this brings us to Australia, which has taken this to a nutty absurdity. Is Australia still a free country? Is there any real freedom left in Australia? I mean, Australia won't let its citizens leave. You can't leave Australia. Now, if you're concerned about not spreading the virus in Australia, why do you care people leave? I guess you're worried about them coming back. And a lot of Australians are stranded outside of Australia and can't get back because they won't let them in. Or if they do come in, they have to go through ridiculous isolation. So international travel from Australia, you have to get permission. You have to ask for permission to leave your country. Now, that reminds me of, I don't know, North Korea, communist dictatorships. Cities, whole states are shut down in Australia. You just can't leave your home. You can't go too far away. And this all went to the Supreme Court of Australia, and they said, it may be accepted that the travel restrictions are harsh. It may also be accepted that they intrude upon individual rights. Wow, they know what individual rights are. But Parliament's aware of that. They weighed it all in the balance, and intruding on your individual rights is okay because we're in an emergency. To travel between states in Australia is severely restricted. In South Australia, one of the country's 6 states, they're developing an app. An app. I mean, you have to, this wouldn't even, I mean, if this was in China, everybody would be in an uproar. Oh, China, social scores or whatever. But this is in Australia. This is supposedly, Corey, you can tell us, a free country. They're developing an app. So that when you quarantine at home, when you travel from out of state and you come back, not out of the country, out of state, and you come back to South Australia, which is one of the states, the 6 states in Australia, right? You quarantine at home. Now you'll have to download this app. The app combines facial recognition and geolocation. The state will then text you at random times, and you have 15 minutes from the time you get the text from them to take a picture of your face in the location that you're supposed to be, your house. And they can tell, facial recognition, the house. And if you fail, then the local police are going to come and check on you. Right? I mean, this is worse than anything China's got. Now, this is the premier of South Australia speaking. He says, we don't tell them how often or when, on a random basis, they have to reply within 15 minutes. I think every South Australian should feel pretty proud that we are the national pilot for the home-based quarantine app. Why use ankle bracelets when you can use facial recognition? And the politicians are proud of this. And the people will probably vote him in again. Because this is what fear does. Fear of a virus. A virus that kills very few young people. A virus that can be dealt with by, if you want to quarantine anybody, quarantine old people who are susceptible to it. If you even need to do that. In Taiwan, not that far from Australia, well, maybe far, they managed to do it without that. In Victoria, another state in Australia, they've announced a curfew, and they've suspended Parliament for key parts of the pandemic. We don't need Parliament, because there's an emergency. Now remember, Parliament was in session during both World Wars and the Spanish flu, But now, we're so afraid of our own shadows. We're so afraid of life. We're so afraid of living. We're so afraid of dying. Part of living. Do we shut ourselves at home? Suspend the institutions of government and shudder alone at home under the blankets? Oh my God, the virus will eat me. It's insane. In New South Wales, the police minister defended the deployment of Australian military to enforce lockdowns. Military to enforce lockdowns. Right? He says some citizens of the state thought that the rules don't apply to them. Right? So you gotta use the military to show them who's in charge. In Sydney, where more than 5 million people live, and in Melbourne, has been in lockdown for 2 months. Melbourne, second largest city, it's been in lockdown for even longer than that. When people have protested, the police have gone out, they've arrested hundreds and fined many. And they used pretty violent tactics against the protesters. So when do we say a country is not free anymore? If you forbid your own citizen from leaving your borders, if you strand tens of thousands of your own citizens abroad, they can't come in, if you don't allow them to travel within the country, if you don't allow them to leave home or leave their city limits, if you ban protests, arrest dissenters, can you really call the country free? And why are Australians tolerating this? Why? I mean, Australians, I always thought of as rugged, tough, Crocodile Dundee types. Survive anything. But what has happened over the last 100 years is we become afraid. We've lost our self-esteem. We've lost our sense of confidence. As a culture, the West has withered away. I mean, we overcame Nazism, we overcame communism, but a few Muslim terrorists, a financial crisis, and a virus are wiping us out. And a big part of that is the fact that for 100 years, we haven't believed in anything. We don't stand for anything. Yes, we were anti-communist and anti-fascist, but what were we pro? The mixed economy. We were pro blah, nothingness. So behind this fear, behind this psychological lack of self-esteem, lack of self-confidence, lies a real philosophical quandary. Who are we? What do we stand for? What is the West? What are its ideals? What is Australia? What makes Australia unique? What makes America unique? What is America? Again, Tucker Carlson has told us that America is beautiful scenery and religion. Now, that doesn't make any sense. How can you believe that? And if that's the case, then nothing special about America. Everybody has beautiful scenery, and lots of places have God. Iran, I'm sure, has beautiful scenery, and it certainly has God. So, what makes America? What makes the West? What makes Western civilization? We don't know. We have a vague sense that we were once great. We have a vague sense that there's something good about what we're doing. We have a vague sense about positives, but then whatever sense we have, our wonderful academics on the left tell us, oh, no. The West was founded on slavery. The West was founded on bigotry. The West was founded on, just list the sins. There's nothing special about the West. And the right tells us, no, 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 there was nothing uniting us. Maybe the color of our skin, but nothing important. Oh, it's Christianity, maybe. We're smarter. We have higher IQs. So nobody out there, nobody in our world today is actually defending what made the West great, what made America great, what made Australia great, what makes any country that embraces the values great. Nobody is defending the values of the Enlightenment. Patrick, if you think Tucker Carlson is a decent man, you don't have a clue. Tucker Carlson is a charlatan, and he's worse than a charlatan. He is deluding millions and millions of Americans about a false notion. I showed the clips of Tucker Carlson telling you that America was great because of its beauty. If you believe that, then you have no clue what America is about. So yeah, is it surprising that we're trading liberty for safety? No. We don't know what liberty is. We don't see the value in liberty. Because the value of liberty is rooted in the ideas and the principles of the Enlightenment. It's rooted in the ideas of individualism. It's rooted in the ideas of reason. Liberty doesn't come from faith. It doesn't come from God. Religious societies don't become pro-liberty. Liberty isn't rooted in the masses. It isn't rooted in the past. It isn't rooted in tradition. Liberty is rooted in ideas of freedom, in ideas of reason and the sanctity of the individual. So Hank, if you want the positive way of getting out of this, it's to stop supporting our enemies. It's to stop supporting the people who would destroy this country, left and right. It's to call them out. It's to embrace the principles on which this country was founded. It's to establish and succeed in your own life so you as an individual have the self-esteem not to be afraid. Fear is what comes when you don't trust yourself. Fear is what comes when you don't stand up for your own values because you don't know what they are and you can't justify them. And you can't stand by them. Yes, more Aristotle, less Plato. Philosophically, absolutely. First and foremost in your life. Make it in your life. Stand up for yourself, for your values. Fight for your values. Fight for reality, for truth, for objectivity. Be successful. Be happy. And then stop embracing your enemies. Call them for what they are. And stand as an independent of the tribalism that exists today, independent of the collectivism that exists today.
And to begin with, I wonder if I can ask you to capsulize, I know this is difficult, can I ask you to capsulize your philosophy? What is Randism?
First of all, I do not call it Randism, and I don't like that name. I call it objectivism.
All right.
Meaning a philosophy based on objective reality. Now let me explain it as briefly as I can. First, my philosophy is based on the concept that reality exists as an objective absolute. That man's mind, reason, is his means of perceiving it. and that man needs a rational morality. I am primarily the creator of a new code of morality which has so far been believed impossible, namely a morality not based on faith.
On faith.
Not on faith, not on arbitrary whim, not on emotion, not on arbitrary edict, mystical or social, but on reason, a morality which can be proved by means of logic, which can be demonstrated to be true and necessary.
All right. All right.
Now, may I define what my morality is?
All right.
Because this is merely an introduction. My morality is based on man's life as a standard of value. And since man's mind is his basic means of survival, I hold that if man wants to live on earth and to live as a human being, he has to hold reason as an absolute, by which I mean that he has to hold reason as his only guide to action, and that he must live by the independent judgment of his own mind, that his highest moral purpose is the achievement of his own happiness, and that he must not force other people nor accept their right to force him, that each man must live as an end in himself and follow his own rational self-interest.
May I?
All right, before we go on, reminder, please like the show. We've got 163 live listeners right now, 30 likes. That should be at least 100. I figure at least 100 of you actually like the show. Maybe there are like 60 of the Matthews out there who hate it. But at least the people who are liking it, you know, I want to see a thumbs up. There you go. Start liking it. I want to see that go to 100. All it takes is a click of a thing, whether you're looking at this. And you know, the likes matter. It's not an issue of my ego. It's an issue of the algorithm. The more you like something, the more the algorithm likes it. So, you know, and if you don't like the show, give it a thumbs down. Let's see your actual views being reflected in the likes. But if you like it, don't just sit there. Help get the show promoted. Of course, you should also share. And you can support the show at JeronBrooksShow.com/support, or on Patreon or Subscribestar or Locals, and show your support for the work, for the value hopefully you're receiving from this. And of course, don't forget, if you're not a subscriber, even if you just come here to troll, or even if you're here like Matthew to defend Marx, then you should subscribe, because that way you'll know when to show up. You'll know what shows are on, when they're on. You'll get notified, right? So, yes, like, share, subscribe, support. Like, share, subscribe, support. There you go. Easy. Do one or all of those, please.